Hi there and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katerina, I'm a knitter, and in today's video I will be making a season sweater by Ullen knitwear. I will actually be test knitting this sweater, and both the yarn and the pattern have been provided to me for the purposes of the test knit, but just to be clear, I haven't been asked or paid to create this video. The season sweater is an oversized drop shoulder sweater with all over alternating cables. The original sample is knitted with one strand of fingering weight wool and two strands of mohair on 5.5mm needles, which creates a very lightweight, fluffy texture. It also has a very long sleeves and the body and a very cozy turtleneck color. Even though I was absolutely in love with the original sample, when Maria asked me if I would like to test knit this sweater for her, I got a little bit concerned. Some of you might know that I have a very sensitive skin and mohair just isn't the greatest option for me at the moment. Luckily, Maria's sponsor Isager yarn is quite flexible and they allow their test knitters to use whatever yarn they find the most appropriate or exciting for them. So with the help of Maria, I decided that I will just use two strands of Isager yarn Tweeny, which is their fingering weight wool, but Maria was a little bit concerned if I would fit the gauge with just two strands of Tweeny, so she also kindly asked to send me alpaca lace that I will be able to hold with my two strands of fingering weight wool. When I got my yarn, I was a little bit frustrated and even disappointed, because even though the color of the Tweeny was the most absolutely stunning green, it was a very thin yarn and I had a feeling that there is no way I would be able to use just two strands of Tweeny on their own and meet the gauge. But the alpaca lace I got was a completely different shade of green and they weren't matching, so I was sure that there will be some marling, and I didn't want it with the cable project because I wanted all the focus to be on the cables. So I had to make a swatch testing out different options that I had. And even before starting making a swatch, I decided that I will go down a needle size from 5.5 to 5mm needles, because I know that Maria is quite a tight knitter and a lot of people have to go down a needle size when knitting with her patterns, and I decided that I will do it as well. I made a very big swatch. The first option I tested was two strands of Tweeny with one strand of Isager Alpaca 1. As expected, it had a very noticeable color difference, and even though the texture in general was perfect, I didn't really want to go with this option. So the second part of my swatch is three strands of Tweeny together. It was my favorite and the most preferred option. It had a very nice dense texture, but I wasn't sure if I would have enough yarn, because with Maria we never discussed the possibilities that I would have to use three strands of Tweeny, and I was sure that the yarn I got wouldn't be enough to hold three strands of Tweeny together. And the last part of my swatch was two strands of Tweeny held together on its own. It actually wasn't as bad as I anticipated. Of course, it was quite lightweight and see-through. I had a feeling that it wasn't that bad and it could actually work for me. So I decided to make a different swatch with just two strands of Tweeny right from the beginning, and it worked quite nicely in my opinion. It was a very lightweight fabric, but it wasn't very see-through, and when I was holding it against my white t-shirt, it wasn't as bad, and I felt pretty comfortable going with this option. And so I got a little bit more excited and decided to cast on this project right away. As most of the drop shoulder sweaters, the pattern starts with the back yoke and the back raised using the German short rows. I haven't mentioned it before, but it is actually my first ever cable knit, and to be honest, I was a little bit scared to start both with German short rows and cables in one back panel. Luckily, the pattern was quite easy to follow and I got it from the second try, but it turned out not to be as difficult as I anticipated. I was just slowly incorporating more stitches and knitting more cables as I moved through my German short rows. And now, looking back at my back yoke, I can say that I'm pretty proud of myself and very happy with the result. Now I will just need to add 5 additional centimeters to my back yoke before I will be able to move to the next step, and I suggest we dive right into the knitting process together. I don't own those special curved needles for knitting the cables, so instead I have been using my 7mm tips whenever I need to put my stitches on hold to knit the cable. It's quite fiddly, to be honest, but I think I'm getting more and more used to using them, and in general it works. The fact that those are 7mm tips definitely helps to make sure that stitches do not slip off my needles, because I'm using 5mm needles to knit on my project, and those are just big enough to tightly fit into my stitches. I have also finished the back panel of my sweater, and now I'm ready to pick up stitches to work on my left front. Again, pretty standard. I pick up the stitches, I work back and forth, and then I start working in creases for the neck opening to then join the fronts together. At first I was a little bit worried again that the stitches of my back panel do not align perfectly with the stitches for my front panel, but as I'm working through more and more rows of my front panel, this difference doesn't bother me that much anymore, because it's not that noticeable anymore, which is perfect. So I will be just working on my front panel. It's really exciting to be finally moving to the next step. I think I have been working on my back panel for about 3 weeks maybe, if not more. So I became a little bit bored, but now I'm excited for something new. I haven't recorded an update for about 6 weeks, and I haven't been working on my season sweater for about a month. Life just got really busy. I moved to a new apartment, got a little adorable cat, and wasn't able to work on my own projects. In the meantime, the pattern for season sweater was released. I felt really bad as a test knitter because I wasn't able to make a lot of progress on my sweater and wasn't able to provide a very detailed and helpful feedback, but there is nothing I can do about it at this point. So, on another hand, I'm now not really test knitting this sweater. I'm just knitting it up, and I feel more comfortable making some adjustments and modifications to my taste. So yeah, I picked my sweater about 2 weeks ago and made some really good progress. I think we left at the point where I picked up stitches for the fronts, and the front panels went by super quickly. It was so engaging to work on the front part. And then there is a little twist in this pattern. So usually after you work on the back panel and front, you join your stitches in the round and work on the body, but this pattern tells you to first pick up stitches for the sleeve and cast on stitches for the armhole and knit up both sleeves. Then you should do the collar, and only then you can go back to work on the body. I think this order doesn't really change how the sweater will fit. I think it's more the matter of personal preference. I don't really like working on the sleeves first because I feel like once you have finished the sleeves, the sweater gets really bulky and it gets a little bit difficult to carry it around and also work on the collar because you need to constantly move it around. But anyway, I decided I will just follow the pattern in the order as it tells me and work on the sleeves first. I made few modifications to sleeves already. First of all, I wasn't able to use the stitch counts provided in the pattern just because I wasn't really able to understand the logic behind those numbers, and I decided to make the calculations myself just to make sure that I have enough stitches to do the pattern repeat and to make it appropriate for joining in the round. So my stitch count for the sleeve is a little bit different. And then I decided that I won't be making any decreases. Once again, I just wasn't able to clearly understand the instructions in the pattern, and in my head doing the decreases when you have a cable sweater is very tricky. So I decided that I will just simplify that and won't do any decreases. I think my sweater won't be too oversized, and also my sleeves won't be too oversized, so even if I don't do any decreases, it should still be okay, but we will see. I got to the point where I think I can start working on the ribbing, but I decided that first I will pick up stitches for my second sleeve and work it all the way to the ribbon point. Then I might also do the collar and pick up stitches in the round, just in order to make sure that when I try it on, it fits the way it will fit at the end. So yeah, that is the plan for now. I'm still really enjoying this cable pattern, even though I haven't worked on this sweater for about a month. Once I picked it up, I was just able to start working on it right away, and I didn't even have to check any instructions to remind me about the repeats and how the cables are worked up. So it's really intuitive and easy, and yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. Okay, so I have almost finished both sleeves. I have made a collar and I made some progress on the body. I have been working on this sweater for about 3 months now, and I'm starting to feel that I'm slowly getting tired from working on it. And I really do hope that switching between the sleeves and the body will help me to stay engaged and motivated. I also really want to wear this sweater a couple of times before it gets too hot here, so I think I have a few more weeks to really finish it and block it. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself, but I think it's manageable. I'm really thankful that I chose a very springy color, because now It's spring outside, and whenever I look at this juicy green, I feel really happy, and I think it will be a perfect spring sweater if I manage to finish it before it gets too hot. I have mentioned it previously, but now I will just confirm this, that for me, working on the sleeves before making some progress on the body and making the color is a bit uncomfortable, just because it's very tricky to move this sweater with the sleeves. My preferred method is to make some progress on the body, like good progress, like 10-15 centimeters, then get back to the color, then make the sleeves, and then get back to the body. It just ensures that I feel comfortable at all of the stages. I'm 100% sure that it's just a matter of personal preference, and I think it's very nice to try different scenarios just to see what works the best for you. I know what works the best for me, but yeah, still, it was fun to try out. And now I'm ready to make a significant progress on the body to really start feeling like the finish is almost here. I have almost finished my season sweater. I just need to finish the ribbing for the body and for one sleeve, this one, and hopefully I will be able to do it today. And also I will wash and block my sweater, and probably tomorrow I will be able to wear it, which is really exciting. I think it's so pretty, and I can't wait to wear it outside. And just like that, I finally have my season sweater finished. If you haven't noticed already, I'm wearing it right now. I have been working on this sweater for more than 3 months, and to be honest, I feel so relieved and happy about having it all knitted up, washed and blocked and ready to wear. It was quite an adventure, to be honest, but in general I'm really happy with the final result. And I'm really happy to finally wrap this chapter up, which means that it's time for my final thoughts on the yarn, the pattern, and the overall fit and wearability of this piece. So let's start with the yarn. For my sweater, I've used 2 strands of Twinny from Isager yarn held together in the color 15S. For my version, I've used about 9 50 grams cakes. I knew that wool from Isager yarn isn't the softest one, and now I can confirm that. It's still a very good quality wool, but me and my skin honestly prefer the softer wool, so I don't think I will use it again for any of my projects. The color of this yarn is, however, very pretty. I'm so happy with my color choice. I'm just really happy with my color choice. But to be fair, I'm currently wearing just a t-shirt underneath, and I can feel this rustic wool on my arms, and it doesn't irritate me or bother as much. It's for sure not the most comfortable feeling, but I can tolerate it still, and I can still wear this sweater like that. I would probably prefer to wear it with a long sleeve, but it's the case for a lot of my sweaters. This piece is quite a lightweight one, just because I used only 2 strands of twine on 5mm needles, and you can see that the fabric is a little bit see-through, especially here near the collar, so you can see a little bit my white t-shirt, but other than that I can't say that it's like really see-through. So in general I can say that 2 strands of fingering weight yarn is quite a good fit for this project if you want something lightweight and something without mohair. I'm pretty happy with my yarn choice. I'm glad that I haven't tried holding 3 strands of twine together because it would have been too thick for me. Moving on to the pattern. Maria's patterns are pretty simple and straightforward. She doesn't provide a lot of details. For me, as an experienced knitter, it's okay. I can figure things myself. If you're a beginner knitter or you really like all those explanations, instructions, details, video tutorials and all that good stuff, you probably won't be as satisfied with the pattern. And also, as I said, for example, the instructions for the sleeves were a little bit confusing, so I had to figure the stitch count myself. There was also one thing that I didn't really understand the purpose of, and basically the pattern tells you that for the fronts and the back you have to do edge stitches at the beginning and end of each row, and for sure it creates a very nice neat edge, but I found it very tricky to pick up stitches afterwards for the collar and the sleeves, because when you do the edge stitches for every 2 rows you have only 1 V, and for example in my case the pickup rate for the sleeves and for the collar along the sides wasn't 1 stitch out of 2 rows, it was more frequently. So for me it was a little bit fiddly to pick up stitches afterwards, and I honestly find this step a bit unnecessary. I wouldn't do edge stitches if I would need this sweater again. And if talking about other modifications that I've done, I will mention the specific numbers on the project page on Ravelry. You will find the link in the description down below, but now I will just mention everything briefly. The first thing is the collar. It is a folded collar instead of a turtleneck collar. I picked up more stitches. I knitted for about 8 centimeters, then I cast the stitches off and sewed the collar down. Then for the sleeves, I also mentioned I picked up a different number of stitches, and I also didn't do any decreases on the sleeve. The length of the ribbing for both of my sleeves is about 4 centimeters long, and it matches the color. And yeah, the ribbing on the body is also about 4 centimeters long. I did shorten the body a little bit, so it's shorter than suggested in the pattern, and other than that I don't think I've done any other modifications. If talking about the general fit, I'm quite happy about how this sweater fits. It's really easy to style and it fits into my wardrobe quite nicely. If talking about the blocking process, the sweater didn't grow lengthwise at all. All the measurements stayed the same, and as expected it grew quite a bit widthwise because of the ribbed cables. If measuring laying down, so this is not a circumference, it's just a half of circumference. For the sleeves I went from 14 centimeters to 16 centimeters, and for the body I went from 53 centimeters to 60 centimeters. So yeah, it grew quite a bit, but not much, I would say, and it's quite wide, but not extremely wide. There is only one thing I'm not particularly happy about the fit of this sweater, and it is that the front is much shorter than the back. In my opinion, it doesn't look really nice. I'm not sure why the back is so raised or the front is so short, but I double checked and I did everything according to the pattern. I checked it against my other sweaters and none of them have the same issue. So the front can be a little bit shorter, but here the difference is huge. To be honest, if I would knit this sweater again, I would probably make the front panel a little bit longer before I join the body in the round. But other than that, I'm really happy with the length of my sleeves and the length of my body. I have been wearing this sweater for the last few days and I have been really enjoying it. It's still really warm, even though it's just 2 strands of fingering weight yarn. I don't think that this yarn will peel, but it's too early to confidently say that. I just think that it's too rustic to peel. But yeah, that was all about my lovely season sweater. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!